Welcome to the Mechanical Room. A Centrotherm production focusing on all things in and around the HVAC industry. And now, your hosts, Michael Sakaris and Matthew Price.
Welcome back to the Mechanical Room, and I'm very excited to welcome in the commercial kitchen chronicler himself, Mr. Pat Finley. No stranger to podcasts. He's typically on, let's say, the other side of the microphone here, asking the questions. Today, you're in the Mechanical Room hot seat. Mr. Pat Finley, welcome. How are you doing today, sir?
I am doing amazing. I'm glad to be here. I know we talked about this a couple times. I finally, got nailed down and got in here, and I'm excited to do this. I'm a huge fan of what you guys do here and everybody you have on. It's always a good time to watch, and now I'm glad to be in the seat.
Absolutely. It's been a long time coming. Schedules are what they are. It's very, it's hard. We're all busy stuff. And actually, that's an amazing thing to start with, right? So, besides the podcast and the media mogul and empire that you are building for yourself, sir, we're a heating company here. We're typically doing water heaters and boilers and stuff like that. You have commercial kitchen in your, persona name. That means, to me, you're working on commercial kitchens, which is not something I know a ton about. I would love to hear sort of the 10,000 foot view of how you got started and sort of what your day-to-day is like. What are you fixing? What kind of tools are you using that are unique to your, what happened here? Oh, something. What's going on over there? All of a sudden I started hearing noises out of his computer. No, it sounds fine to me. All right. So we're gonna edit around that. Okay, so we'll just start that question again. So you actually have commercial kitchen in your persona handle name and it kind of, I don't want to say defines things that you do, but it's obviously a big foundational element of your career and media outreach and persona and all that. So I don't know shit about this stuff. What does a commercial kitchen person actually work on for the most part? What is similar to, like, say, the HVAC mechanical room boiler stuff that I might be a little bit familiar with? And how'd you get started, basically?
So I started off as an electrician, kind of weird, and transferred to this. So my dad, he was an HVAC guy, and he got into commercial kitchens for a while. The company he worked for got bought out, and he didn't want to work for a big giant conglomerate. It was a family-owned business. He'd always done family-owned stuff, and he kind of got me his place, and then he retired, and I just started doing it. It's been up on 20 years. I think I'm getting ready to come into 19 years this coming May. So it's been a fun journey. I started off just doing hot side. So we kind of break it down hot side, cold side, and hot side is anything that cooks: ovens, fryers, grills, that kind of stuff. And then cold side's your refrigeration, your ice machines, and all the rest of the stuff in the kitchen. But we also do dish machines, disposals, HVAC, anything in the kitchen, we'll fix it, man. Toasters, it's wild.
That's really interesting. Actually, so obviously, your average home residential kitchen has like a range and a microwave heating stuff and a fridge and a freezer cooling stuff. Would you say that your knowledge then, on average, is generally more well-rounded than, say, a person who only puts in boilers? Because there's no, to my understanding, there's no refrigeration involved in that at all. So you have a wider spectrum of knowledge that you must possess. Is that correct?
I don't know if it's a wider spectrum. I just focus more on my side of it. If I did boilers all the time, I can't tell you how to pipe a boiler. I can tell you how to probably wire it up, the main power coming in, and I can solder, I can braze, I can press, I can thread pipe, I can do that kind of stuff. But when it gets into zoning and like codes and that kind of stuff, I'd be lost. So I'm not knocking them, saying I know more than them. I just know my little specter, my little sphere.
Sure.
Props to those guys, because I see some artwork some of those guys put in, and I'm amazed. I'm fascinated. There's days I want to quit my job and go do what they do because I like, what they do.
I absolutely was not. It was certainly not a knock on people, because you and I both know. We know some of the same people, and I actually want to hear who those inspirations are in a second. But obviously, what you do is a little more, let's say, multi-dimensional than, say, someone who specializes in putting tankless water heaters in. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, 100%. It's a lot of different stuff. You can be as focused as you want in this industry. I could just say, hey, I'm only going to work on this Garland grill. So Garland grill is a grill that's at McDonald's, and it's the clamshell grill that actually cooks the burgers from both sides. Yeah, so it closes down and cooks from both sides. So that's how they cook their
Like,
burgers.
like a George Foreman.
Oh yeah, like an industrial George Foreman. It cooks a frozen hamburger patty in like 40 seconds, and then the 4-to-1s or the quarter pound meats are fresh and they're cooked in 81 seconds. So it takes that little hockey puck from frozen to cooked in 40 seconds. So
And that's got to be okay. So are you then, in order to do that, to take a frozen hockey puck, as you say, which is a great way to describe that, even when they are cooked, I think at McDonald's, to take that and go from frozen to edible, sellable, consumable, there's a science.
Oh,
What
yeah.
temperature I mean, they have to be at this exact temperature to achieve that kind of machine like assembly line thing. That's correct, right?
Yeah, so how it's supposed to work is every day when they change over from breakfast to lunch, they do what they call beef integrity, and they cook a full run of patties and they measure temperature, and they have a book, a logbook, and they write them down. They have to be above 165 or 170 degrees. So how this works is they have to be frozen at a certain temperature. So the freezer has to be maintained at a certain temperature. If it's too warm, they'll cook too fast and burn them. If it's too cold, it won't cook properly. So it's a whole bunch of science behind this. But where I come into it on the grill is that top plate is 425 degrees and the bottom plate is 350 degrees. Now this has a linear actuator that actually works that top up and down, and it comes down and it knows, okay, this patty has to be this thickness, and it stops there and it sears it for a second, and then a couple seconds later it actually puts more pressure on there and smashes it. And then
Huh.
at different stages where it applies more pressure, and then after 40 seconds it just opens up and there it is. Now it still may look pink, but that burger is actually like 175, 180. I've seen them up to 200 degrees. Still looks pink, but still cooking, and it actually will be done by the time it gets to your plate. So it's kind of wild how it works.
Yeah, so I'm curious about the actual grill itself now, right? So in my head, I'm thinking about like if I made like a burger or I put some chicken on the grill at home. All my grill is a great gas grill, but when I open it up, obviously there's no top heating element, so I lose all that temperature and it's got to heat back up. How, like, obviously the temperature is coursing through both sides, right? So how does it, like, what the hell's going on with that? I mean, how does that work exactly? How is the firing gas actually turning that into heat on
So
that movable element?
the top plate, they're all electrical on top plate. There's two heating circuits up there in front
It's electrical.
on the top, yes.
Um,
So that it's a 1-inch solid steel stainless steel plate, and it holds that heat really well. So that's how it can be in the opposition and stay 425 degrees. Now the lower plate is still a 1-inch stainless steel plate, but they can either be gas or electric depending on the location. Most of the grills are all electric, so there's electric elements strapped to the bottom that heats that plate up. But yeah, they do a really good job. They hold the heat. They use a Teflon sheet to keep the product from sticking,
hmm.
help with product loss and stuff like that. So
Sure. That's interesting. Okay, so now I want to know about how like like a KFC or a Popeyes would fry the chicken, right? I mean, like, so that's something completely different, but I mean, it's got to be similar, and some of the same similar heating principles are being applied here to keep that oil bucket bubbling over, right? That's got to be also hotter than the burger grill, I imagine.
no. Actually, oil fryers are generally set at 350.
Oh,
Anything above 375, the oil starts to break down too fast, and then you lose oil quality and product quality. So generally, most fryers are set at 350, no matter what they're cooking, and then time varies. So Popeyes is an open fryer system, and so is some of KFC. So it's just a big open fry pot. You look down, you can see oil. You can stick your hand down in there if you're dumb enough. But then, so they have baskets, and they stack the chicken in baskets so it doesn't stick together, and they just lower it down there, and it's got a timer. Some chicken is actually pressurized, and that's a totally different beast. Like Chick-fil-A, actually, their chicken's pressure fried. Some of it is, and it's got this fancy rack. It lowers down into the oil. The top closes down, and it's got an arm you spin like a submarine hatch, and it closes it, and then it's got a solenoid that closes off a steam outlet valve, and that's what holds pressure in there, and actually cooks faster under pressure.
that's so fascinating. We're gonna just talk about Popeye's chicken for the rest of this podcast because I'm so fascinated by this. Does your knowledge of this type of stuff improve your own culinary skills in the kitchen?
I'd like to say yes, but probably not. I am fascinated. Like I will work in 5-star restaurants and I will watch the chef like plate up food and it's like artwork. And they're always like, "Are you hungry?" I'm like, "No, man. I'm just watching what you are doing because this is literal art." I was like, I'm fascinated by how everything works. I was always a fan of that show, How It's Made. I think
Sure.
it's well for what I've done. But yeah, I'm fascinated by watching these people work in the craft and the skill and they're putting in on a plate of food. It's amazing. So I'd like to say yes, and I've learned a few tricks, but my wife takes care of me, so I really don't have to do too much cooking.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, it's sort of the same thing of maybe if you're working around that stuff all day long in your off time, it's not necessarily the thing that you want to be doing. I'm sure you don't want to do pressurized chicken frying after a day of Chick-fil-A troubleshooting kind of thing. I would totally understand that. I mean, I personally don't leave here at 5 o'clock and then go vent more boilers. I mean, that's just not what happens. So that's awesome though. That's honestly, this is one of the more fascinating technical things that we've had on here, and like just recently. So I mean, so if you're familiar with the podcast here, you know that we are certainly not doing a sales pitch. It's not a commercial for our product. I'm way more interested in lifting up the generative trades and stuff. So as such, we've had like Ice Master Ty on recently, and he's like industrial refrigeration, and we've had other people on that have nothing to do with, let's say, tankless water heaters and boilers as we do. So that's really fascinating. And I can actually wrap my head around like frying a piece of chicken a little bit more so than, industrial freezers that somehow keep cheese curds at a particular temperature. I mean, when Ty was on here, I was like, I like cheese. I'm glad it works. It's but a little bit less clear, to me, or harder for me to wrap my head around a little bit. So fascinating. I mean, it's one of the reasons we wanted to sort of have you on is a corner of the, I mean, I guess technically not even the mechanical room, right? The kitchen is not, I mean, even the tanklesses are sometimes like on the wall in the kitchen. They're not separated out, whatnot. So
Every time I see a tankless, I always look for that gray vent pipe.
yeah, well, that's I'm almost one of a kind with that gray bent pipe on the tankless stuff too. So well, if you ever run into those, I would love to see photos and stuff. I know people like so I know you mentioned McDonald's. Our friend, great friend of Centrotherm, great friend of the show, personal friend of mine, Terrence of the Impetus Plumbing and Heating. I know that they've worked on McDonald's a lot, not doing the kitchen stuff, of course, but doing like Navient installations and whatnot in there. And it's always fascinating to see where they're fitting it and all that sort of stuff. You ever run into problems like that? Like, what is a piece of gear that you have to troubleshoot, work on that is 100% unique to like a kitchen situation or even an industrial kitchen, right? Something that like is really your specific slice of the trades.
Really, anything in a kitchen. But really, the thing that's kind of different about kitchens is combi ovens. And I say combi ovens, people think of combi boiler, and it's kind of similar. So it's a combination oven. They just shortened it to combi because it's everything nowadays. Let's shorten
It's
it
like
from,
heat and convection.
well, it's convection and steam or both together. So that's the combi.
Oh,
So
okay.
things can come in a size big enough to sit on the counter at home, or big enough where I can stand in it and raise my arms and not touch the walls. And
What are they cooking in that?
everything under the sun. Grocery
But
stores you do rotisserie chicken. Um, you can cook everything, and you can sear in them, you can air fry them, bake. It's amazing what these things can do. But the technology behind them is incredible. They make electric ones, which is pretty cool. They stage elements on and off, 50%, 100%, that kind of stuff. But they also do gas, and the gas ones is a lot of similar stuff you'd see in like a boiler or a high efficient water heater, tankless water heater.
yeah.
You got a pre-mix burner. So, you're checking gas pressure coming in that burner. On the outside, your gas is actually in a vacuum. So it's a pre-mix system. We're setting them up with CO2 sensors, dialing them in. That's how we adjust our burn. It's the same ignition controls you can see in some of these units. So it's kind of crazy that, what I work on in my little niche of the market is actually the same stuff you see everywhere else in the market too. But combi ovens is where it's at. They can be super complex or super basic. Some just spray water on the elements or heat exchanger and create steam. Some have a boiler built into them and actually create steam with hot air with gas heat or with electric. So they're pretty complex or simple, and they run the gamut of what they can do and how they do it.
Is there any PPE that is like unique to the stuff that you're doing, or is it all just generic stuff and you're just wearing the same gloves that an electrician might be wearing?
It's pretty much generic. We just kind of borrow whatever from all the other trades. Tools, everything. I use a UEI combustion analyzer to set these combis up with their gas. Um, most of my meter is a field piece meter. I use
Okay.
JB. It's all the same tools everyone else uses, and we just kind of adapt to what we need. But we are in our trade. We're doing plumbing with water and gas lines, steam lines. We're doing um, electrical testing. We're doing, I did some oil lines, some oil return lines. So it's, a oil pump that pumps oil back. I mean, we just kind of do everything. We do
You're
refrigeration.
doing some gas fitting, I assume.
Yeah, we do a little bit of gas fitting. We don't generally do anything inside the building. Once it's out of the wall, we will do some adaptive stuff. But yeah, I've dabbled in some gas lines. I want to press some. That's my next thing.
Okay.
I got some jobs coming up. I want to use press on and stuff. But we do it all. I mean, if I go into a restaurant and they got a water heater that's not working, I'm like, hey, you want me to look at it? I can figure it out. I mean, it's no different than anything else I work on. And it's
Sure.
funny, like a convection oven is one of the most simple, basic things we work on, but it's the same gas valve, it's the same in-shot burner, it's the same igniter, it's the same ignition module as you'd find on like a carrier rooftop unit. It's the same parts, it's just adapted to fit in this. It's wild.
That's, I mean, I guess that makes perfect common sense because we're effectively the process is the same. And obviously the outcome is slightly different, whether you're heating a pool or running a steam stove or oven, I guess it would be, right? Steam oven.
Combi oven, yeah, or steam oven,
Yeah.
steamer.
Trying to think about what would be best. What do you? There's a scene from the show The Bear. I don't know if you've seen that, where it's about a restaurant, right? And one of the guys is baking, and his bread is coming out like kind of brittle, and the superstar chef is like, put a pan of water underneath it, and it creates like steam inside the thing. So I would just be so fast. Do you ever? How much good sampling do you get when once the work is done?
Well, I'll tell you, you seed me in Miami. So when I started in this job, I was like 225 pounds 19 years ago. I went from being really active as an electrician to sitting in a van a lot, driving around, going to restaurants. And every time you fix something, you're the hero. Whether it's at a school and it's a little old lunch lady, or it's a five-star restaurant, everywhere you go, you get fed. And I said no at first, and then I quit saying no, and then now I'm in the shape I'm in now. I'm on the decline. I'm losing now, but it's
Good. Yeah, you look good, man. You look good. I see your 4 a.m., 5 a.m. cardio posts and all that. So,
but yeah, there's plenty of food to be ate. I never ask for it; it's always offered. I've got guys that ask, and I'm like, it drives me nuts. I'm like, dude, if they'll offer it, don't ask. I mean, like, it just is what it is. But some guys just, oh, they want to ask. I'm like, nah.
so okay, so that's a good jumping off point to so I'm so much more familiar with your podcast, having been a guest myself along with Jason, a couple months back or whatever it was, a year ago, something. But what I don't know about is like your company. Now, are you the owner of the company? Or you are? What is the professional situation that provides you with the means to do this podcast that we're going to talk about next?
I am the lead tech for the Indianapolis market of a company called General Parts. I think we're like 34, 35 branches, and we're actually part of a larger conglomerate of like 37 companies. It's part of a multi-billion-dollar parts selling company that decided to buy service companies. So we are
Gotcha.
It's called Parts Town, and they own a bunch of service companies, and we're part of that.
I know about Parts Town. Most of the people that you've named, or some of the names that you've dropped, Field Piece was one of them. You said something else, another like a combustion analyzer. A JB was another one you said. These are all HVAC tactical sponsors. So they're the kind of things that I don't know what the hell they do, but because I'm working with the magazine and stuff like that, I know their logos very well.
I was pushing Parts Town to like try to sponsor. I was trying to work that angle and help you guys out. I think their budget.
I do believe they are. I want to say that they are a meal sponsor for the upcoming awards, which I do believe, sir, that you have been nominated.
Oh yeah, that's what I heard. I tried to get some information out of him, and he's awfully quiet, and he doesn't like giving that out. So we'll see. But I did hear I was nominated. I'm excited. I actually won 2 years ago.
I was there.
Yep, I won best social media content somehow. I did not expect that whatsoever. Um, that was a really huge.
Well, broken clock kind of thing. Who knows, No, well deserved, of course. And we look forward to it again. I mean, this will be how many? You will be there, of course.
Oh yes, I've been there since Vegas, and I don't plan on missing one.
Beautiful. Love to hear that.
Pretty much a family vacation that I work. My wife comes with me. I will always do the tactical awards. I always support everything Ben does. He does great things. You as well, with the magazine, everything you guys do. You guys do amazing things for the trades industry. I love seeing it growing, and I can't wait to see where it goes in the future. But I will never miss one, so I will always do the tactical awards and AHR Expo. As long as I am willing and able to, I will be there. So
I will let you in on a little secret. I put a really big picture of you in the catalog for the upcoming one. So
I've got a blog actually written for you guys. I emailed in, I didn't get a response back. I don't know if maybe I missed it.
Well, you can just send it to me if you like.
But he asked me to write a blog like last year, and I just kind of spaced it. And I said, hey, you still want? Yeah. So I've got it about half written. I need to finish it. I'll probably do it when I'm down, because I'm actually heading down to Orlando on Tuesday.
Okay.
We'll stop halfway because it's like a 16-hour drive.
You're driving from Indy?
Well, yeah, because my wife's coming, my mother-in-law's coming, because I'm gonna be down there I'm not leaving. I'll be down there Wednesday, and I'm not leaving till the following Thursday. So
are you doing Universal? Are you doing Disney with the kids?
No.
Mother-in-law, like a massive Mickey Mouse fan?
No. She's just retired. My wife, she follows me around. But I am actually going to the HVAC school symposium Thursday, Friday. I've always wanted to go.
Okay.
And the same city. I was like, hey, I'm gonna do 3 events in one trip. So I'm doing that, and then so we're going down early, but I'm really excited to be down there. It's I love Orlando. I've done some other conventions down there, and this is not going to be,
I presume you'll be at the podcast pavilion a little bit, right?
every single day, 10 a.m. I will be there. I got three guests lined up. The first show is the Viper Vixens.
I know them well.
Refrigeration Technologies. The second day is Rigid's going to be on, and then the third day is Watts is going to come on and talk about some stuff. So I've got three.
I've heard of all of these things.
I've got 3 very good episodes coming out, and I'm excited for it. They're all
that's
really
awesome.
Work with, and
will Jason be there with you, or are you rolling solo?
Jason is coming Monday, and then he's actually got another convention that starts Tuesday. So he's staying all Monday, and at the end of the day, Monday, he's flying to Vegas because he's got RIFMA, which is restaurant food. I'm a butcher. I don't know what it is. It's something for restaurants. It's facilities management. So restaurant facilities management.
Yeah. And that's his bread and butter.
Yeah. He left being a tech world and he went to be a facilities manager. So now he works for a very large restaurant concept group, and they have 3 or 4, maybe 4 concepts, and he manages over 100 stores, like facility stuff. So like when something breaks, the manager calls him, and then he's facilitates that kind of stuff. So he really loves it. He's got a passion for everything he does, and he's really excelling at it. So I'm proud of him.
Excellent. Well, that's a great segue into, because I know he's part of the Commercial Kitchen Chronicles. So I want to talk about that as well, because that is probably your, most notable thing that you do in the outward world, right? In the HVAC ether of the internet, where we all talk through these little boxes and share photos and stuff like that. So what was the impetus for starting it? You fill a void, I'll say that. There's not much. There's a lot of HVAC podcasts around, and many of them cover sort of the same stuff, but Commercial Kitchens, to my knowledge, you're it. So that's awesome, and I want to hear a little bit about that, the beginnings and the inspiration behind that. Like, who are your media heroes in this industry and beyond, or in the trades overall? And how did you decide to I was gonna say lace up the sneakers, but it's more like apply the headset,
So it's pretty funny. So I travel a lot for work. I'm in a van, and I always listen to podcasts. I always try to better myself. So I was always listening to Brian Orr. I was always listening to Brent with Tool Pros, Gary McCready, Make Trades Great Again, all the people. That's all I did. I just binged all that stuff. And I was like, man, these guys are great. I love what they're doing. They're talking about tools, they're talking about jobs, they're talking about people in the industry, they're showing people off. I was like, but there's nobody in my little niche of the HVAC world. And then I've got ADHD. You probably noticed in some of the things I do, but one day I was on Facebook, I was like, I'm gonna do a podcast about, commercial kitchens. And like 2 weeks later, I was on to something else, chasing some other dopamine high. I didn't take it serious. And I was walking by the president of my company's office because he's based out of Indianapolis. He goes, "Hey, Pat, I want to talk to you." And I was like, "Oh man, what did I do?" Like, "No, it's not bad. It's about the podcast." It's like, "Oh, he's gonna tell me I don't have to do it, so I'm out of it." Cool. And he's like, "No, we want to support you. We're gonna help you do this." And I was like, "No, I gotta do it."
That's all. So I didn't know that. So this is in conjunction with the day job, essentially.
Not really. They just support me. So if I need something, they've helped me out with like computer and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
that's I mean, okay, so not a direct sponsorship, but like they believe in it. They're supportive. That's 90% of the way almost.
Yeah. So they don't want to be like, they don't want to be a name tied to it. I give them praise all the time. I tag them and stuff, but they want it to be genuine and not seem like they're doing it and just having me do it. So that's why they're like, "No, it's on you." Like,
It's the best case scenario.
yep. If I do some
Best
bad,
case.
I catch some crap, but I mean, I've gotten better over the years. So I just
Oh, I want to hear one of those stories.
okay, we can get to that. So I started it up. I was real inconsistent. I didn't have a co-host. I didn't know what I was doing. I did an introduction episode, and a month later, I did another episode, and I literally talked to myself for 4 hours, and then edited it down to like 30 minutes to sound like an idiot. So I figured out like, let's start getting guests on. So I started getting guests, and then I met my co-hosts. First, I had Dusty on. He was a co-host. He's a kind of in the same state as me, same state in Indiana, but um, he got young kids and it just doesn't work out all the time. So he hasn't been on in a while. And then I met Rich and Jason online on LinkedIn, and it just kind of clicked. And, they've been a solid staple for the last 2 years. Rich started his own business, so he's kind of working too many hours. He's trying to grow. He's trying to hire guys. So he comes on when he can, but he's been missing quite a few here lately. I won't hold it against him or anything. I understand he's trying to build a little.
Life happens, man.
So, but yeah, that's how it started. Just me opening my mouth on Facebook and someone holding me to it.
That's awesome, honestly. I mean, I'm in a sort of a similar situation here where I'm at the vent company here and I'm taking some time out of my day planning AHR and all that sort of stuff, booth and whatnot, to chat with you about Popeye's chicken, mostly. So good on Partstown and your day engagement, and Centrotherm for sort of believing in the trade uplifting type of, understanding the greater good that comes of this type of stuff, and that's not everybody understands that. So credit where credit is due to sort of progressive minded folks who understand that this is sort of an important part of all, uplifting the trades and generally speaking, leading towards, like, let's say, better quality work overall, a better educated force of or workforce, let's say, inspired by people like you, by people like Brian Orr, by Eric Downey, by anybody who's bold enough to sort of share their wisdom in this sense. And that's, I mean, in the complete opposite way. That's why me, like a dude with a mandolin tattooed on his arm, right? Like somebody who's never really turned a wrench really ever. That's why I love to have these conversations, because I learn so much and I'm able to, I say little. I want to hear the technical stuff. I want to hear what you guys are doing. I have no experience in what you've done. It's all fascinating to me. And the same is true even of stuff like boiler installers and stuff, which I have a lot more, personal connection to, let's say. So good job for your day job. Good job on Centrotherm and stuff like that. And I don't, again, I mentioned it's not a sales pitch for Centrotherm, of course, but your podcast notoriety introduced your persona to me from afar, which then said, hey, why don't you come along and come play on the beach with us and whatnot? I'm curious to get your whole impressions of all that from the first, I want to say, initial messages that maybe I sent you on Instagram, perhaps. What was your impression? What did you think that was? Did you see the first one? Because I know you didn't come to the first one.
I did see.
Go ahead.
I did
feel it out.
I did see the first one. It was great. I was like really jealous. I got a bunch of FOMO. See a bunch of people I follow and I look up to and I talk to online down there in South Beach, just having a blast, from playing on the beach to going to the event center, which is totally wild being in that place, totally immersive. Then, the parties at night and everything. It was cool to actually be a part of it. I had no idea I was going to get to do it. I signed up for it and I did what I was supposed to do. I was trying. And when I got those, I made it past the first stage, and then I got the actual invite. I lost it. I was like freaking out. And it was a amazing experience. You know, you get down there, you check in, get your flip flops on, your bathing suit, and you walk down to the beach. You know, it's a quick like 3 or 4 minute walk, and right there you're on one of the most beautiful beaches around. And it's just perfect environment. There's food waiting for you. There's drinks. There's games, and it's all the tradesmen. We're just down there away from away from the boiler rooms, away from the kitchens, away from the rooftops or wherever they're working at, and we're guys hanging out, women just hanging out, having fun, throwing footballs, playing games, and it was a once in a lifetime experience, and I'm glad I got to be able to do it. It was pretty cool because my buddy Dave, who's your HVACR, actually lives in Indiana, and we flew the same flight down and back. So I had someone to talk to at the airport, so I'm not sitting there looking like somebody just staring at their phone all day. But it was an incredible experience. And then I forget the name of the actual center it's at, the all immersion place.
The Temple House.
The Temple House. That was wild. You walk in, and it's just everything's on the walls, the ceiling, sounds coming at you from 360 degrees, and we're playing games, we're playing dodgeball, we're playing baseball. I mean, it just one after another. It was just nonstop, and it was just action and fun. I was wore out, man, but it was an absolute blast.
I'd love to hear that, man. That's great. That was the whole idea, of course, and to the end of trade uplifting. That's why we had people like, I see you have the legendary Santa Claus himself's sticker back there behind you. I don't know if you've seen the latest tactical magazine. We put him in the Santa suit, but Mayberry, Mr. Mike Mayberry, who is maybe the most legendary person in all of like HVAC social media, certainly like the grandfather of all of this stuff, right? Like we might not be having this conversation in this manner if not for what he laid the groundwork for, right? Yeah. So what does he do? He's a refrigeration guy. He's in Arizona. There's not a whole lot of boiler business going on out there, and still, and to his credit, I will say this, and I'm not sure, he might tell me not to say this because this is the kind of guy he is, but he was like, give it to a younger guy, what do you want me for? Like, there's so many more people that that could make the most of this and stuff, and I literally said to him, exactly that reason is why we want you to come, and that sort of generosity and sort of certainly the respect was, front and center there for someone like Mike. Of course, we met some new people and what have you as well, but, he's a refrigeration guy. We had AC techs, we had commercial kitchen chroniclers, we had the whole swath of the trades and stuff. So, yeah, that was the whole idea behind it. Was there a singular person that you were either surprised to meet or excited to meet, somebody you hadn't met before that was, like somebody you've kept in touch with now that you met, something like that? Did you make a new connection, a new friend, that kind of thing?
I can't say I talked to most everybody there. Tyler Dines. He's someone I talk to quite a bit now.
Love that guy.
Yeah, and then Jason Norman. I talk to him all the time. We trade bourbon stories. We talk about waiting in line for bourbons and what we bought recently. I'll send him a picture of what I bought, and he sends me pictures of what he can get that I can't get, and I'm jealous. But someone I was extremely excited to meet was Roger. Like, I've never met Roger. I've seen him, and like I've seen him at wet at the corner of my eye, but I actually sat down and talked to him, and I was like, this guy is really cool. Like, he's not just some big persona on the internet. He's a really good guy.
He absolutely is. Roger's the kind of guy who, if it was the right time, he'd answer my call. Like, he'd just pick up his cell phone and say, "What's up? How you guys doing?" Getting him to host the Family Feud was, that was just out of control. I didn't know what to say, but as soon as we thought of that, I was like, that is so perfect for him to do. And he was like, I have the proper tuxedo. He went all in for that. Perfect guy for that. Yeah, he came to dinner. I think he came in like maybe a day early or something like that. He had some meetings in Miami. It just so happens that he was taking some meetings. And so he was there. We came to dinner with us the night beforehand. And you got to love it when somebody who boasts that type of following, it really is just a regular guy. There's no ego about it. It's certainly supportive, friendly. I can't say enough about Roger. He's just a wonderful guy, super fun, down for the laughs, that whole nine. And of course, somebody who what does he do? He would tell you that he's a plumber. He's not, the YouTube mogul, which he totally is. He's a plumber. He's a tradesman. He understands what it is to get his hands dirty, and I think that comes across authentically in his, in the way he presents on YouTube, and he's, unapologetically himself, which, I mean, that, there are a few people that are more Texas than he is, you know what I mean? Like he's a Texan, and I mean, it works, and he's just such a lovely guy. So that's great to hear that was a person who was sort of on the list, or was a nice surprise for you, that kind of thing.
Yep. Yeah, it was a blast. The competition at the end, man, that was some pretty fierce competition those guys got into. I'm glad I wasn't up there because I'd have looked lost, but those guys knew what was up and they killed it, man. That was some serious stuff going on.
It was one of my favorite moments of the whole thing was, I guess it was when Jason Winder had won something, I suppose, and Matt Waxer, the HVAC doctor, he, I think, kicked it off. And then everybody sang "Oh Canada." Oh my God, that was such a weird, majestic moment with all. I mean, Canada was very well represented down there, very well represented. So that was, I mean, there was a lot of people in that chorus.
Yeah, that was a year for Canada because they won some awards, a tactical. They won some stuff there. I mean, yep. Canada taking names in this trades war. It seems like.
What's going on up there? I mean, like, so when I think about, when I do the Centrotherm Instagram, and I'm sharing boiler installations and things like that, as I know you see. I mean, like 3 out of 4 are in BC. Like, what's in the water up there? Why are all these guys so professional and also so good at at social media?
I think the aspect of it is, a lot of it is to training. Like the training regiment they have to do to become licensed up there is insane. I'm down here in Indiana and I can just prove so many years and I can go get licensed and do whatever I want. But up there, they're going to like a 4-year program. They're actually taking, a month or 2 off at a time to go to school. I'm like, that is insane. You go from making this kind of money to now you're, pretty much laid off on unemployment or whatever they call it up there and in classroom for 2 months. And I have a ton of respect for those people up there. I followed along with Jess and some others that are in school and going through. I'm like, props to you guys, because I don't know if I could do that. I mean, so that shows, in their work and their pride, that they did what they had to do, and it's cool. It's definitely different than down here. I mean, you can go to the union and go to class 1 day a week for 8 months or whatever, but that's not the same as being away from your career for 2 months at a time to go to school. That's a lot of dedication.
Yeah, that's immersion. Is that's not part time. That's even more than full time. I mean, that's full immersion right there. So that's pretty intense. Regiment or curriculum, if you will. So yeah, I mean, that makes perfect sense. And I guess I never really thought about it that way, but that might be why some of those Canadian installations are just that much tidier, perhaps.
Well, they are killing the social media game too with Terrence and Tyler and a lot of those other people and Jay.
I mean, all those guys. I mean, you mentioned Gary McCready. I mean, a legend. I mean, there's so many. We could go from west to east. I used to look at the stickers on my on my thing. So we got Ben Thompson right here. There's definitely like a Colin Sadler sticker under here somewhere. I mean, you just name it. There's so many. There's so many. It was actually something, not to bring up Miami, but it was difficult because BC, Alberta are the farthest away from Miami. So it was like the biggest, it was the most expensive flight, not to get into like logistics of all that sort of stuff, but like anybody coming from the West Coast had to be coming a day early. Because there was no way to get them to Miami in time. So they came in the night beforehand. So BC personas were a more expensive flight and an additional hotel night. Again, I don't, not to get too deep into like the expense element of this, but of course, from a manufacturing standpoint, we had to pay for this somehow. So it was something where we definitely had to like, man, we were like biting our nails, like, oh God, this is impossible to pick. There are so many more people that I want to bring that it became a very, very difficult thing. It's like, why can't everybody just come from Newark, New Jersey? Like it's like a $90 flight, go right down there. I could fly everybody in that early morning, no problems. Just, luckily, I think you guys, so you and Dave were on the same flight. I tried to do that as much as I could, get as many people on the same flight. There was like a big chunk of people from flying out of Boston. There was like Travis Abear, who was my last guest on the podcast. Travis, Kyle Hatch, and Jared Pulliam were all on like out of Hartford. Then there was like a Newark one, and then there was one that was like you guys were out of Indy, and then there was one out of BC, and one out of. I tried to cluster people as best as I could. So that does nothing for the cost, but it does a lot more for like your enjoyment on the way down. So were you personal friends with Dave prior to that?
Yeah, I've known Dave since I started this Instagram journey. I had a personal Instagram, and then I kind of started wanting to show off my work. I just wanted to show off my work, and then I just started following him, and then we started talking. I was like, "Hey, you're from Indiana with the name Hoosier, of course." And
Yeah, of course.
I'm friends, and he texts me, all the time. I text him all the time. He's a really good guy. He's like me. He's a jack of all trades. So he probably does a little more than me. He does electrical work and HVAC, plumbing. He does it all. And
yeah, he's a great guy.
So
glad we could bring him down as well. I mean, he was just yeah, it worked out. So it's amazing. I love thinking about this, and I see all the people and your sticker wall over there. Most of these guys were in the mix at some point or the other. I mean, it's a lot of like nothing but heavy hitters and legends on that right there. I see Roberto, who I was talking to earlier today. I see Flynn and his dog. I mean, who's a bigger person than that? We've already lavished the praise on Mayberry beyond words. I see Centrotherm. I see Vader. I see my own sticker. I see Travis. I see Jason, Aaron Bond. I see Barnes. I see the Viking pipe fitter. Is that Christian, Pacific Northwest? I want to say that's like right next to Jason Barnes. Yeah, that's got to be him because I see the elevated sticker as well. It's crazy how I have an encyclopedic knowledge of these logos and these stickers at this point. It's crazy. So I love it. I mean, I'll send you a photo of what the wall over there looks like. It's just in this room. We just decided to start putting them on the wall. So it's covered pretty good here. So.
But how's the new facility?
Right, well, it's pretty good. You have to come by. Please, the door is always open, sir. We will. The new facility is much larger. There is significantly more space for production and warehousing, which was becoming a constraint for us. A little bit more cohesion in terms of like where the administration offices are. I mean, we were kind of scattered a little bit at the old building, and now we're a little bit more clustered in a way that makes sort of sense. We've got a nice training room. We've got some, conference rooms. There's the standard shit that every office has as well. But I mean, by and large, it was a mostly an operational maneuver because we were just running out of space. We were maxing out capacity at the old building, right? So like where I sit with my computer and play on Instagram is irrelevant. I work from home often, and it's not so much my deal, right? But we need space to put these pipes. One of the big things, unfortunately, about pipes is they're big and hollow. There's a lot of air. They take up a lot of weird negative space. So warehousing is like a nightmare for us because it's like the actual weight is very low, but the actual space is huge. So it drives. I mean, I wouldn't want to be the freight manager here, the logistics manager, just thinking about that stuff because density and space and stuff. We ship so much air, it's out of control. We ship in air like I think that's the best thing we ship is air. Yeah. It's I think by in terms of pounds per square inch, we're shipping mostly air. These hollow pipes, we have toyed around with like nesting them, right? Like a 10-inch pipe and then put an 8-inch pipe in, and like the time studies make it so that it's just like not worth it. It's not a good idea. Some of our mostly our reps, not so much distributors, have done some nesting in their own warehouses, which works, I think, on a significantly smaller scale. So for us, we just have pallets of pipes that are, I mean, geez, it's like 60% open space because, very thin wall, very wide space in between. Nothing you can do about it. It's the nature of the beast. So, but yeah, the door's open, man. Any day you want to come. I know it's a little bit of a haul. Obviously, it's not the easiest thing. It's not just coming down, but pack the wife in the car, pack the mother-in-law. Come on by. The door is open.
I'll take you up on that.
Please do. It'd be great. All right, so we've been talking through a bunch of stuff here. I want to get you back to your own day, but we always end with a couple of like non-mechanical room type stuff. So I know you mentioned Brian Orr, you mentioned the Tool Pros podcast, Brent, and a couple of other sources of, like, let's say, HVAC media. When it's time to hear the subwoofers bump and listen to the bass and the drums and stuff, what kind of music are you listening to in the headphones if you're working, or is it always podcast type stuff?
It's generally always podcasts. The music can be anything. I don't care. I'll just turn the station on and let it play. It can be hip hop, it can be country, it can be rock, it can be classic rock. I'll listen to anything. As long as it's got a good beat, and generally
Okay.
I'm not even really listening to words, just a beat, just going along, just trying to think.
Fair enough. So
I'm down-
you wouldn't, what would be a favorite band then? I'm just curious, like just throw some band names out there of things that might be your preference if you had to choose.
so probably one of my favorites is Five Finger Death Punch.
Okay.
So I
Very,
work
very aggressive, very aggressive.
out, and it just generally is loud and aggressive in the background when I work out, and I just it just kind of pumps me up, gets me going. So that's probably one of my go-tos is Five Finger Death Punch.
Fair enough, fair enough. To me, that is a very aggressive thing. I have like Grateful Dead tattoos and roses and like I got like hippie boy stuff over here, and I mean
did
that's
that
a little too.
when I used to partake in some certain things. I used to be a huge Dead and Fish fan and all kinds of stuff. So
Oh,
uh,
for real? Okay, I didn't know that. That's awesome. Okay.
high school I was a little bit of a stoner, and the circle I ran around with, we drive around and have the stereos playing some Dead or some Fish or something, and just chill out, and that's just what we
Well,
did.
certainly no judgment. Some
Yeah,
of us have not grown out of it.
yeah.
So that's so. I mean, I used to be a very big Fish fan, not so
Mhm.
much in modern times, only because I think I grew up and I'm not so interested in braving the throng of humanity that attends a show like that.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that I still don't love both the Dead and I mean I'm mostly a jam band person overall, me personally, right? So Grateful Dead. On my tattoo sleeve, I have an Allman Brothers tattoo, very much a blues jam band. Fish, obviously you know what that is. Grateful Dead, a little bit more folky type of deal. I don't know if you're familiar with Mo. I used to be a very big Mo fan. They're a bit of a smaller jam band out of kind of out of Western New York, so a bit local, but they tour around. They just announced the like a West Coast tour, whatever. So they get around a little bit, but certainly smaller. But like that's another pure jam band that I've always been into for a long time. So yeah, I mean, hey, some of us never grow out of that stage.
Hey, I'm not here to judge. I'm here to talk about what I do, and
There's no drug testing in the marketing department, so
here to listen, not judge.
yeah, good. I appreciate that. So, all right, so that's another. Okay, so then the day's over. Yeah, you come home, you clean up, you shower, whatever. What are you doing with your spare time that's not podcast related or trades related? Like what's something that maybe that's a hobby of yours or an interest anyway, and it could be certainly anything, but I'm curious about the non trades element of your life.
So I dabble in cigars and bourbon. So
Okay.
I enjoy a cigar. I will sit on the back deck if it's nice out and throw a ball with the dog, or just hang out with the wife and talk with her. I'll drink an old fashioned, or I'll have some bourbon on ice. Um, I'm pretty chill. I like to in the winter and fall. I like to hunt. And I like to fish in the summer. My wife likes to fish, so it's something we can do together. But in the fall and winter,
Beautiful.
I hunt when I get time. But I just like being outside. If it's nice, I want to be outside, whether it's smoking a cigar, having a drink, just hanging by the pool, whatever. Just enjoying being outside and just getting away. I live in a little small town. It's still a town, but it's like 1,500 people. We don't have a stoplight. We got a gas station, a couple churches, and a bar. That's my town. So if you hear sirens, something big's going on. But most of the time, you don't hear anything but some kids screaming or a dog barking. So it's not too bad.
So is that outside of Indianapolis?
Yep, I am about 40 miles northeast of Indianapolis. So I'm
Okay,
kind of.
so you have a major metropolis that you could drive to
Oh yeah.
should you get there. Like you're not, okay, you say small town, but you're not that far off the beaten path.
Well, there's a town of like 50,000 or 60,000 people that's like 10 minutes away where we go grocery shopping and stuff like that.
Okay, yeah,
We just didn't want our kids going to school there.
fair enough. Understood. Well, sir, I'll let you get back to your day. Thank you so much for taking some time. Really, really fascinated by the kitchen stuff. I mean, makes me want to come to like a job site and I don't know, sample some Popeyes. I guess I could just go to the Popeyes itself and be like, hey, I know Pat. Like, hook me up, man. They'll be like, okay, great, here you go. Yeah, you get the Commercial Kitchen Chronicles discount here. It's
Full price. This guy's
full price. Get the hell out of here. That's awesome, man. So again, I appreciate everything, man. I can't wait to see you at Tactical, and definitely stop by the booth at AHR as well. We're doing a Tactical magazine photo shoot thing around the Centrotherm booth on Monday at 12:30. So definitely come by and just say what's up. We'll just be chilling and hanging out. Ben will be there, and we'll be kind of doing a quasi Miami meetup, sort of thing. I mean, it's just sort of inevitable. It's going to happen. So that's Monday at 12:30. So if you're free, pop on by. Otherwise, I will try to come and heckle you in the podcast pavilion, perhaps. And other than that, enjoy the award. Good luck, sir. May the tactical gods bless you again, and enjoy AHR.
Yep, I will see you in Orlando on Sunday.
Indeed. Safe driving, safe travels, my man.